You know, most adopted children grow up in very, very loving homes. But when they get older, many of them say that they're haunted by questions about where they came from. Who were their families? Who were their parents? Why did their parents give them up for adoption to begin with? Is there a family medical history, maybe, that could even save their life? But, you know, getting the answers to those questions is not always easy, and some people are just downright angry about that. Some say that adoptees have a right to know who their birth parents are.
Part of your identity is really being cut off by the government, because the government is interfering with our right to our records.
Then there are others who argue that the birth mother and the adopted child have a right to privacy, and that is being destroyed these days.
If you can imagine someone walking up to you and saying, "Hi, I'm your mom," and this mom expects you to instantly have feelings for her. Instantly.
We're also going to hear how one adopted woman was so traumatized when a biological sister found her and insisted on telling her how she was horribly abused as a small child.
I found out that my mother was stabbed in the chest with an ice pick and thrown out a 3-story window when she was pregnant with me. This information does me no good now at the age of 27.
But my first guest decided to seek out her birth parents because she wanted to start a family, and she was concerned about hereditary diseases. But what she discovered about her birth mother simply shocked her and led her to join an organization that is called Bastard Nation. I'd like you to welcome, that is a heavy, heavy title. Deb Schwartz is from San Francisco, and I'm going to start with the, it's hard for me to even say that because I have adoption in my family. So when you say Bastard Nation, it sends a chill through me, like many people in the audience. Why such a harsh title?
Well, we chose the title because records were sealed in the United States during the Depression era. And they were sealed because they wanted to protect children from the title, from the label of illegitimacy. So we're reclaiming that title in order to fight for open records. So in essence, we are taking that title back very proudly.
This comes from a personal story for you about how you went back and searched for and found your birth mother. How did you do that?
Well, it was very difficult. I first had to overcome my fears of, I always thought in my mind that birth parents didn't want to be found. And I was also worried that I might be viewed as disloyal by my adoptive family. But my husband and I last year decided to have children. And he's from Scotland, actually. And I started to think, I really would like to tell my children what their heritage is, you know, also their genetic information. That was really critical to me. So I went onto the internet. I also read a lot of books. And I talked to other adoptees and birth parents, and I discovered that actually a vast majority of birth parents welcome reunion. In fact, over 95%. But it was a very difficult thing. The first thing I did was I wrote to the vital statistics for my birth certificate. And I discovered that there's no parents on this birth certificate because adult adoptees' birth certificates are sealed in a vault.
What does that do to you when you find this and there's no mom? I mean, because all of us, look at this. Most of us have seen our birth certificates, and you see your mom, where she's from, and where dad's from, and how old they were, and here you are, just your name. What does that do to a person when you see this?
It makes you feel like you were hatched. And it also gives you a sense of, you know, being cut off from your roots, from your heritage, from, you know, part of your identity is really being cut off by the government because the government is interfering with our right to our records.
So you didn't let this stop you. You kept digging. What else did you do?
What I did is I contacted the adoption agency because I always heard that they might be helpful. But I've come to learn that many adoption agencies aren't. In fact, when they serve as an intermediary, they can be very insensitive. And they were insensitive to me, and I asked them what my medical history was, and they said there was none. I asked them what my heritage was. That was very important to me, Rolanda.
Sure.
And they told me that I was American. Basically, the government doesn't allow them to give out that information.
So how did you skirt all between all of the roadblocks? How did you get finally to meet your mother?
Well, I saved a lot. I saved up my money. And there are private investigators that, that have access, but a lot of people don't have money to do this. It cost a lot of money to do, and within 24 hours I found my birth mother, and after the agency telling me that there was no medical information, I found my birth mother, and she's dying of breast cancer.
Oh my goodness. It is a hereditary disease.
Her mother had breast cancer. My birth father, he lost his only sister at the age of 36 to breast cancer. His mother had breast cancer. My aunt had breast cancer. Almost every single female on both sides of my family had breast cancer.
So had you not found this out, you would never know about planning your family, what type of diseases are passed on?
I wouldn't have gotten a mammogram at the age of 36.
Oh, my goodness.
And I've talked to other people that it saved their lives finding their birth mothers.
How was it when you first saw her?
It was very sad. It was sad news. And when I learned the story, not only is she suffering from breast cancer, but after my relinquishment, she went into a deep depression because the records are sealed. She didn't have any hope of ever meeting me, even as an adult.
So when you what did you do? You called her, or you went to see her?
I found out that she was in a nursing home. So I got on the first plane, my husband and we went back there, and I took a picture of me as a baby. And I sat down with her, and I showed her the picture, and she said, "Oh, that looks like me." And I said, "Well, actually, that's me. I'm your daughter, Debbie."
Oh my goodness! And what was her reaction? What I can imagine.
Well, she said that she had been calling to me since December, when she knew that she was dying. And I said, "I know. I heard you."
My goodness. When we come back, I'd also like to know how, oh gosh, you make me cry too. I also would like to know how an adoptive family, the wonderful people in the loving home that you were raised in, how they responded to your find.
Well, I was worried about that.
Well, hold on. Let's take a break because your adoptive mother is here, and I want to ask her as well. We're also going to hear the story today of a woman who says that she was happily adopted until her biological family intruded on her life. These aren't always the most positive experiences. This young lady is going to tell us about how secrets of childhood abuse came to her and how she dealt with that. Secrets, lies, and adoption. That's what we're talking about today on Rolanda.
If your son didn't want to know this information and the biological mother showed up on the doorstep, what would have you
She
done
didn't show up on the doorstep.
What if she did?
She did not. And let's not talk about that because that does not happen. It is
Doesn't happen?
It is rare.
Happens all the time, Rolanda.